Everything is fueled from me wanting to be a better person on earth.
It's time to do your part.
Welcome back, everybody, to Do Your Part. I'm Brian Gallo, your host extraordinaire. Loyal viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us yet again. I've got another fresh voice. Aneka Brown, who is a powerhouse here in the Coachella Valley, is here with me. How you doing?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm stoked and elated that you're here with me today.
I'm happy to be here as well.
I'm so happy. I've known you for quite some time. I'm bringing a lot of people in that I do have some relationships with. My goal is to kind of mix it up a bit. But given that you and I have a bit of a background, tell me a little bit about why you said yes to coming here today.
Well, first of all, who can say no to Brian? I mean, like you said, we do. We go way back. I remember when you owned the Crazy Coconut, I think it was. I used to love going there.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
You used to bring the party.
Right, or I'd try.
No, you did. You had great energy, and you'd always come, and you would always chat up new people, and you were like part of the family there for a while.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Well, I enjoyed you.
Well, good.
So that's why I decided to come today, because anything you're doing is worth coming to.
You're a sweetheart. Well, thank you for your support.
Yes,
honestly,
thank you too.
Yeah. So next up, we usually move into a bit about the background of our guests. So I know you told me you're from, I think, Central California. Give us some background about where you're from, your upbringing, your childhood, your family. Pour as much detail as you possibly can into this.
Okay. I was born in San Luis Obispo, California. For those who don't know where that is, it's a little tiny college beach town. There also is a prison there. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a prison there.
Oh,
but it's probably an hour away from Santa Barbara, I'd like to say, going towards Carmel. So I moved away from there with my family when I was 6.
Okay.
So we moved to Palm Springs in 1978, I believe it was. Ooh, I just aged myself.
You just told everybody how old you were. Don't do the math, everybody.
Well, I don't care. Black don't crack. So.
That's right, Mama.
But yeah, we moved here. I am an only child by my mother and my stepfather. I have 3 sisters and a brother from my dad. Very close to all of my sisters. Love my sisters. Love my brother too. So I moved here early on. Back then, Palm Springs was fresh, I'd like to say. It was a place that you heard of, but you didn't exactly know where it was at. People knew that it was close to LA, but and in between LA and Phoenix, and that the celebrities came here. And when I was in high school, we had spring break here. And when I tell you we had spring break, I mean, we had spring break. They eventually had to break up the colleges because spring break was so popular here.
Jeez.
I mean, Palm Canyon is probably, it would take you 2.5 to 3 hours to get from the front of Palm Canyon to the bottom of Palm Canyon.
Which normally takes you 5 minutes.
Exactly. So that's how many people were here for spring break. And then Sonny Bono had enough. He was mayor at the time, and then decided, okay, well, we need to do something. So they broke up the colleges. So everywhere that was close could not spring break together. And then that's when it moved to Cancun and
Lake Havasu, et cetera.
Yes. And then...
Because I've seen images of this, and you could tell Palm Springs was popping.
Yeah.
It was like Coachella before Coachella.
Right, but it was free, though.
Uh-huh.
I mean, well, it wasn't free because you had to have a place to stay, but if you wanted to drive out here for a party for the day, it was free. And,
Why did your family leave San Luis Obispo?
Because my stepfather, Jeff Drasky, he is an interior designer here. He's the one that designed all the Palm Springs signs.
Oh, whoa.
When you first come into Palm Springs, all those signs. Yeah, my dad did those. My mom and my dad met each other at the phone company. And so my stepdad got a job offer out here that he couldn't refuse and moved out here. And so we came out here for a visit, and then before I knew it, we were moving out here. So.
Was it a bit of a culture shock from you coming from San Luis Obispo to Palm Springs? I would imagine that San Luis Obispo was not very diverse.
Well, I don't so much remember about the diversity. I just remember that it was more of like a hippie kind of we're all one, love one another vibe. And when we came to Palm Springs, it was a culture shock because it wasn't, even though it was moving to another small community, just the sense of belonging, the sense of everybody as a family, the sense of we are this big tribe, I didn't get here.
Do you get that now?
I get it now only because I make that.
I was going to say you're a huge part of this tribe you're talking about.
Yeah, I make it, but yeah, no, my childhood was, I don't want to say it was unhappy, but it was a little rough.
What made it
You
rough?
know, moving here, and I don't know if I would have experienced it wherever I was at. I experienced racism early on, very early on. Junior high school. I remember coming into, well, even before that, I remember in elementary school, the teacher would split up the class, as the smart kids in the front and the not so smart kids in the back. And I remember being one of only 2 black kids in the front. The other one was my, still to this day, is my best friend, Orrin Jackson. And then I just remember getting comments from teachers and counselors like, oh, you're so articulate to be a dark girl, or, you're different, you're well-spoken. And even at a young age, that resonated with me. Like, what do they mean?
Why are you separating me? Why am I different?
Exactly, exactly. And so then it started off very microaggressive. And then when I got into junior high school, I remember the end thing was to be a flag girl. If you didn't play an instrument, you weren't in band, you were in flags. So I got there and I'm like, oh, yeah, I was a dancer. I took dance. And so I'm like, oh, I can, try out for flags. And I remember trying out with 3 other black girls. One was in the 8th grade, and the other 3 of us were in the 7th grade. Out of all of the black girls, only one made it. And it was the one that was in the 8th grade. And so I thought that was kind of a little strange. I was like, well, why can there only be one black girl at a time? And then, so didn't let it bother me. I tried out my 8th grade year and again made it. Again, I was the only black girl. So it was like I was isolated and alienated. And then it got more rough, and when I got into high school, same thing. I was a handful of black kids that were in the AP class, advanced placement, and the college prep classes. All throughout high school, I pretty much just took dance, modern dance, ballet. Then when I got into the summer, it was the summer between my junior year and my senior year. Going out at the end of my junior year, I wanted to be a song leader. Song leader was the cheerleaders, but they were the ones that danced. Being that I had 10 years of dance experience, I was a shoo-in. There was a total of 5 of us. We all tried out. 5 black girls all tried out. None of us made it. Not one of us. And so our parents our parents all got together, and they demanded to see our scoring sheets, and they demanded to know what the process was. And so then in doing that, they opened up history of black girls being cheerleaders at Palm Springs High School.
Or lack thereof.
Lack thereof, exactly, because there was only one within like 10 years.
Jeez.
And she was mixed. And so our parents got together, talked to us, and they said, well, what do we want to do? We decided we wanted to sue the school district.
Whoa.
So our parents hired Gloria Allred.
What? Go ahead.
And so that summer just resonated with me because it made me who I am as an adult today. It made me strong. It made me resilient. I lost a lot of friends through the process. We ended up settling out of court because all of us, we decided we didn't want money. It wasn't about money. It was about changing the system.
Yeah, principle.
Changing the way they did things. And so we settled out of court. We got everything we wanted. So they basically had to bring in non-partial judges that had nothing to do with the school, nothing to do with anybody in the school. And therefore, the girls coming up after us didn't have to suffer what we had to suffer.
And they were judged on talent.
Exactly. And then when you looked at the rhythm sheets, the sheets that we were judged on, it was hilarious. Like, for rhythm, out of a possible 10, we all got 1 and 2.
Yeah, right.
And then, like, for appearance.
Seriously? So they're basically
Seriously.
saying that you, as far as rhythm is concerned,
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, you scored it 2.
I scored a 2.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so did the other black girls that tried out.
So
I mean,
super intentional.
super intentional. And it was like for looks.
Yeah.
You know, out of a 10, we would get 3s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, still like our hair, and then there would be notes.
Mm-hmm.
Hair could be tidier. And I remember out of the 5 of us, 3 of us wore natural hair. The other 3, you know, or the other 2 had permed hair. But I mean, the ones that had natural hair, we were the ones that had the note that said hair could be a little more tidy or a little more kept. And so just going through that, it made me look at life differently because it went from microaggressive to outright blatant racism. I mean, I could play basketball. I could be on a basketball team. I could be on a track team. But then when it came to cheerleading, I'm not athletic enough, or I don't have enough rhythm to be a cheerleader. And mind you, like I said, I had been a dance since I was 5. All of us had experience. One girl had experience in gymnastics. Another girl I had danced with all throughout junior high school, elementary school. Another girl danced and was a gymnast. So we all were more than qualified.
Yeah, rhythm was the last thing that you lacked or did not have.
Exactly.
Even please.
Right.
Wow, I'm glad you shared this story, because this is, we all have examples, and, for a lot of people who don't quite see how racism works or how prejudice shows its ugly face, this is a really strong example.
Yes.
Wow.
Very strong.
So,
Very
and
strong.
you won.
And we won. Yeah, we settled out of court. Like I said, we did not want money. We were not in it for money. We were in it for justice.
Yeah, and principle. Let me ask you
Yes.
this real quick, because as I've gotten to know you in your adult life, you definitely are outspoken, and you definitely like to get your voice heard, and your opinions are strong, and I think your voice needs to be heard. Was that always you, or is that something that, is this like the junior year, senior year issue? Is that what catapulted you into?
I think that I progressed into it. I've always been outspoken, but not so much when it comes to wearing my badge of being African American on my sleeve. I didn't start doing that until I had to.
And when did you have to, and how do you do that?
In high school, how I do that is I hate hearing the term "you're different." And I'm sure you've heard it too.
Oh, totally. As a compliment, usually.
Yeah. And not realizing that Black people are just like every other human being that walks this earth. We're diverse. We're just as diverse as any other ethnic group or any other race. And for you to only see us as one way based upon the images that media is pushing angered me. And so as an adult, I made it my mission to always put forth an effort to push more positive images of my culture, my heritage, my ethnicity. And that actually is why I started the Black History event that I do.
So let's move into that.
Okay.
Talk a bit about that, and now we kind of know what led you to that. I want to know more of the why, and then spell it out for us. Tell us exactly what this event entails.
Well, the why is, like I said, just because, I would go up north to like Oakland, the Bay Area, and I would see these fabulous events. And it would be Black events, but only everybody was attending. You see that in LA, there's multiple events. And then here, we had maybe just a few, and they weren't given the exposure that they deserved.
Not at all.
And so instead of going to work with them, I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and it was different from what they're doing. So my best friend, Keisha D., and
Hi,
I got
Keisha.
together, and we decided that we were going to present this event based around the things that we love about our culture. Now, for those of you who don't know, Keisha is a phenomenal singer. I mean, I'd say she's probably the best singer in the Coachella Valley. So her love of music came to the event. I've always loved art and fashion. So then I put art and fashion into it. So then we said, well, what else can we do? So we said, okay, well, we can do art, fashion, music, and food. And so it started off very small. We started off with the Palm Springs Women's Club. At that time, I had started designing. A little bit of brief history, make it a long story quick, is I was diagnosed with what is called environmental COPD
Ooh.
and adult onset asthma. And so basically, it's just I have diseased lungs.
Okay.
And it could be something in the air that triggers them. It could be a perfume somebody's wearing that triggers them. But when I get these triggers, sometimes I go into these episodes where my lungs start to close up.
Ooh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, so I have to be put on prednisone. At times I've been on 110 milligrams a day. At times I've been on as low as 30 milligrams a day. But with prednisone, it's a steroid. So your weight fluctuates.
Okay.
So normally I'm about an 8-10. You know, maybe sometimes a 6. But when I started taking the prednisone, I got up to a size 22
Oh, wow.
because it's a steroid.
Yeah.
And being that I have a lung disease, when I'm in flare-ups, it's impossible for me to exercise.
Okay.
And I'm taking this steroid that just makes you ravenous. It makes you want to eat, and it takes away your energy. So my weight went up. And I was trying to find clothes that were cute when I was at the heavier, and I couldn't. So I designed this little, I want to call it an MC Hammer romper, because it was like a harem romper, and it had little sleeves, but it was very loose fitting. But it was still, you throw a kimono over it and you're stylish.
Yeah.
And, I have one on today. And so Keisha saw that, and Keisha was like, "Girl, where'd you get that romper at?" And I was like, "I designed it and had it made." She was like, "Get out of here." She was like, "This is what you should be doing." And so I thought about it. I talked to my husband about it, and my husband was like, "Well, you've always had a passion for fashion, so go for it."
Yeah.
And so I started Aneka Brown Designs with $250 with that one jumpsuit.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And now you're pretty much an empire here locally.
I wouldn't be that bold to say.
I can be that bold to say
If you're saying
it.
it, thank you.
I mean, I don't know about national, international yet, but as far as locally, you're known for these things and for your
Yeah.
unique designs and for
Yeah.
your cultural contribution, really.
Yeah.
When you have these events, which I've attended and will continue to, they're really diverse. What's up with that? I mean, first of all 12 black folks that live in the valley are all there, which is a trip. But
Right.
you have a way of bringing all of these people together. Is that you, or is that intentional? What is that
It's
about?
me, it's intentional, it's Keisha, it's intentional. When we sat down and we talked about this event, we said we wanted to be 100% inclusive.
And you've been that.
And so I utilized the event to promote my new line that was coming out that year. And so I made it my mission to always have my models reflect my life. So I had models from ages 12 all the way up to like 68, I think was the oldest, from size 0 to size 22. I've had every ethnicity you could think of. I had a handy-capable blind woman model for me. I've had transgender people model for me because that's what my village looks like. And I told myself going in that my line and my philosophy in doing my line was that it was going to reflect my village
And be all inclusive.
and be all inclusive. Exactly.
Well, you said it, from
Yeah, you modeled for
transgender.
me a couple times.
I know. One time I was super oily. I was like, geez, I needed some water that morning. I came out there looking like a shiny light bulb. But I love attending your events, and they're so chic, and everyone's so present and excited, and the energy in the room. You can cut it with a knife. It's not like a normal fashion event or Black History event.
No, it's not.
It's not at all.
And
Let me ask you this: when you formulate or create these projects, do you get backlash from the community at all, or is it all support?
no, I get backlash. When we first started out, basically Keisha and I funded it. I mean, we were trying to get sponsors, and because it was during Black History Month, people felt alienated for some reason, with the exception of Dr. Timothy
Joshin. I
Joshin
knew you were going
and
there.
Lee Irwin.
Yeah, contour dermatology.
Exactly.
Go on. You love them.
I love them, and it's because they believed in me.
Yeah.
I presented this idea, and I sent them a proposal packet. The first year they gave me a certain amount of money. They saw what I did with it. The next year they gave me money. They saw what I did with it. Each time it's more, and it's because they really believe in what I'm doing. They really believe in the event. I had their beautiful daughter, Ashley, model.
Yeah, she's
one year.
gorgeous.
Yes, and yes. And so without contour dermatology, this event would not be possible.
Wow.
And they've sponsored all 6 years.
Wow. So they're your
All
title, your
6
main
years.
sponsor.
Our main sponsor, our presenting sponsor.
Yeah. And they attend too.
And they attend too, yes.
I love hearing that.
Yes. And so as the event grew, then I was able to get more sponsors, because what I would do is I would bring on key figures. Like, I'm friends with Trina Parks. For those of you who don't know, Trina Parks is the first African-American Bond girl. Diamonds Are Forever. It was filmed out here in Palm Springs. So one year I got her as a model. And then when people found out I had her as a model, I got maybe 1 or 2 more sponsors. And then the year after that, I had Richard Pryor Jr. as a model. I had you as a model the year. Actually, you modeled the year. No, you attended the year that Trina was the model.
Right, yeah.
And then that's when after that, I said, ooh, you need to come model for me. Yes. And so people, they see the caliber of the event. And they're starting to want to give. Like this year, well, first of all, this past February was going to be my last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because for those of you who know, my big sis, my bestie, Keisha, is sick with cancer. And so she's fighting cancer. And so she didn't have the energy to continue it. Yeah. And so I just felt maybe I should step back and focus more on building my brand. And so I had announced it and everything at the audience. And, people were dismayed and they were upset, but they understood because I dedicated 5 years of my life to this event. Now it was time for some me time. Then the stuff with George Floyd happened. The stuff with Breonna happened. I mean, just stuff piled on. And I just said, my work isn't done.
So how did all those things affect your life?
They affected my life because, for one, I'm Black. For two, it's like I've got 2 sons and that could have just as easily have been George Floyd. I have a husband who could have just as easily have been George Floyd. And so if I don't continue to present African Americans in a positive light and with positive imagery to dispel the negative propaganda and stereotypes that plague us and also contribute to our dehumanization, I'm not doing my job. And so I talked to my husband again, and I said, I know that I was supposed to be focusing on my business. I said, but this is gnawing at me. My work isn't done. I've got to keep going with this. And my husband was like, whatever you decide to do, I'll back you. And so then I started late, and of course this year I don't have Keisha's help, but I started late. And this year what I'm doing, or actually for 2021, which is different, is I've got the main event, and then I've got these other sister events. So I'm opening up Black History Month with a basic sign language class, instruction class, at AMP Sports Lounge. And then after that, I'm introducing the Palm Springs or Coachella Valley to African American wineries.
Nice.
With a wine tasting.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the first Friday in February,
Okay.
I believe. And then that's an event.
Okay. Let's take a quick step back, because you talked about how you felt obligated to kind of do something once all the Breonna Taylor and the George Floyd stuff happened. As far as your role in the community, how do you do it, and how can we get other people to adopt this ideology that you have,
Well, I think it just has to come natural. It's not something that can be forced. It has to be organic, because then that translates into the events that you do. Because what I try to instill in people is that when I say that I'm proud to be Black and Black lives matter, that does not mean white lives don't matter or white history isn't as important. It's just that we as a culture, not just our culture, but Mexican Americans, any culture you could think of that is here, that is not of the, and I don't want to say dominant, but it's put to the back burner. And I feel the more we learn about one another's cultures, the better we all are as human beings.
Yeah, I like that. Knowledge is power.
Exactly, because from what I've experienced with a lot of people is that, or the majority of people that I deal with, they don't realize they're being racist or bigoted or microaggressive bigoted or microaggressive racism. So in order to combat that, I'm not going to come at them with force. I'm going to come at them with knowledge and educate them.
And love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because then 9 times out of 10, they absorb it and they take it back to somebody else.
They get to sit and
And
think
then
about it.
somebody else, and then somebody else, and then somebody else, and then somebody else, and then
Domino
somebody
effect.
else.
Why do you think that Black Lives Matter is so inflammatory for some people?
I think, well, because of the word black. Because when you hear Blue Lives Matter, people don't get upset at that. And say, well, all lives matter as a response to that. You know, when people say Boston Strong, people weren't saying, oh, well, what about Palm Springs Strong? So it's the word black. People are uncomfortable with the word black.
Yeah. No one's ever put it like that to me, and I think that that's very simply put, which is that it is just the word black.
Yeah, and I think because it makes people deal with a topic they don't necessarily want to deal with, and it's their inherent racism. And being in this country, the way that we're taught, it lends you to being racist.
Yeah,
It's
it
conducive to
encourages you.
racism.
Yeah.
You open up a history book, and it's full of white history. And then you may hear about George Washington Carver. You may hear about Harriet Tubman. And that's it. You know, if we want to combat racism, we've got to retrain the way people learn. We've got to include Black history. We've got to include Native American history. We've got to include Asian American history. We've got to include Mexican American history, because we have all equally contributed to what this country is.
Yeah. I like that. And it's funny you say that, because when you said we all equally contribute to, I didn't know where you're going with that. And I thought you were going to say racism. And then, because I know that there's a lot of black folks can be racist too. We all can be a bit racist, right? Or prejudiced at times.
Well, I tend to say,
I shouldn't say we all, but I
Yeah.
should say that there are some black folks who have a lot of racism in their.
and I think that I don't want to speak for all the black race, but I think that mostly black racism or bigotry, what we may feel or what another black person may feel, is a direct response to how we've been treated.
Interesting. All right, that's debatable, but I want to hover on this. Do you think that we all have underlying prejudice, including yourself? It's a tough question.
Yeah, it's a tough question, and I want to say no. Speaking from
I think
myself,
we all inherently want to say no at first.
yeah, but I mean, speaking from me, I want to say no, because I'm accepting of everybody. I'm loving of everybody, and it was because I experienced racism that it made me the way I am today, because I did not want anybody else to have to go through what I went through.
Yeah, I get that.
Now, if I hadn't have experienced that, who knows?
Yeah, my rule of thumb, I believe that everybody has some sort of underlying prejudice within them. It's just about, that's a big part of this program as well. It's getting in the mirror and trying to figure out, what is my part in all of this, right? Reverse racism. What do those words sound like to you? Does that make you feel? What do you think when you hear that?
Well, when I hear reverse racism, there definitely is reverse racism, because, like you said, there are there are a lot of our elders that are bigoted or racist. Not even just racism, homophobic.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. A lot of my father's side of the family still refer to white folks as the devil, and homophobic.
Exactly.
Not necessarily always in a derogatory sense.
No, and so that's why I feel, and I don't want to make excuses for it, but when you've been through what our people have been through at the hands of a certain race or at the hands of a certain people, it's kind of hard not to have animosity for that group of people.
Yeah, and or fear, and or, again, animosity or resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that this is the stuff I wanted from you. Looking to get real deep and get
Yeah.
your opinion on all of this. As far as racism in a whole, right? You and I are both adults. We've been living here on Earth for ages. Do you think that this is all needed? Do you have hope for the future? You've said you have kids. Are you hopeful?
Of course, I have hope for the future. I mean, my kids are adults. My kids are 25 and 20, but my oldest has a child on the way.
You about to be a grandmama?
Yeah,
Wow.
BB. I say
BB?
BB. Grandma that's Swahili for grandma.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
BB.
BB, BIBI.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So, of course, I have hope. But I'm going to take it a step further and turn hope into action.
Right.
You just can't sit back and hope for change or pray for change or wish for change. You have to get out there and do what you feel needs to be done in order to enact change.
So then give us some tangible examples of how you get out there. What are some things you can do when you get out there?
I don't advise everybody put on an event because it's a hard work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
But what I say is step outside your comfort zone. Pick different cultural events and attend them all with an open mind and an open heart.
Which is what you provide here in the Valley. Your
Yes.
doors open for people that are not
Yes.
Black to come learn.
Exactly, because it's like if I can reach one person out of 100 person, you can't look at it as just you've reached one person but not 100. You have to look at it as a domino effect. I've reached that one person. That one person may be around other white people one time when something comes up, and that person may speak up. And then they may reach one or two people. And then those people go on and reach one or two people. Those people go on and reach other people. So combating racism is something that we all have to band together to do. It's not just our problem. It's a global problem. And we've all got to do our part by listening with open ears, actually hearing what people say,
Repeat that.
listening with open ears,
And
actually hearing.
I always talk about this, and we live in a state and a space where people are so busy thinking about their response and not listening to what you're saying, not hearing
Exactly.
what you're saying.
Exactly. So you really have to hear it. Then once you hear it, then you can digest it. And then you can visualize it. Then you can see within yourself what you need to do to make the change.
Right. Let me ask you this. And again, I'm all over the board. Viewers and listeners know I do all of right? So for you to be able to be so well-rounded and for you to be able to stay so busy and so positive, there's got to be some practices or routines that you do weekly or daily to keep you kind of you. What are those? Do you meditate? Do you...
I do quite a bit of things. It's so funny because what I'll do is Sonos. It's like a music system where you can put music through, and I make it a point to at least once a day turn that music on. And then I leave myself. My husband says I'm out in the poppy fields dancing. But it's like I physically leave myself and open myself up to the universe to ingest new things and to get rid of old things. And so 9 times out of 10, when I do this, designs come out of it. Ideas come out of it. Fresh ideas, new designs, new concepts. And so that's what keeps me sane, is having that time to myself to get out of myself and to get out of all my surroundings and just be free to whatever flows to me.
How much time do you allot to this?
It just happens organically. I mean, sometimes it's an hour, and before I realize it, I mean, a whole day has passed.
Wow.
Or like 2 or 3 hours have passed. So it's not something that I set out for a certain amount of time. It's just whatever my body tells me.
And that's
what I do.
And that is an example of therapy for you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then another, I love watching Ian Levan's aunt.
Oh, gotcha.
On Saturdays, every Saturday.
Yeah, she's deep.
Because I may not necessarily be going through what the people that she's counseling is going through, but I always get a message and a lesson out of what she says.
Like giving the longest eye roll, because I feel like if everybody adapted that attitude, you can learn so much from other people's experiences.
You can.
You can learn 80% of what you need to learn from just studying other people's situations.
Period.
Right.
Exactly. And so it's just like doing that also allows me to get rid of any negative energy that may have filtered into me and make room for more positive energy. So I try to get rid of my negative energy daily so that it doesn't build up. My friend Holly makes me wonderful oils. She's also my Reiki master. That's another way that
I knew that you had a routine, because you can't do all this and be all this
Yeah.
if you're not pouring back into yourself.
no, I have to pour back into myself.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and it may be just popping a glass of champagne or a bottle of champagne. I didn't want to say bottle because, yeah, you know me. You know I drink that whole damn bottle.
But there's something to be said for that. I was talking to my friend Michelle, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's got 2 kids and she's busy with her job, and I'm like, "Well, what are you doing to put yourself first?" And she's like, "I don't have the time." And I'm like, "Sit down with a bottle of wine.
Yeah, you have to make the time.
Do something that's for you."
Exactly.
I
I
like
journal.
this. Keep going. What else? So you
I
journal.
journal. What else do? I Reiki. Oh, I've got this wonderful sisterhood that we call the LLLs. We try to meet. Well, we haven't so much lately because of this pandemic. But
Yeah.
we always used to meet once to twice a week. I mean, once to twice a month. Luxurious ladies of leisure. We would rent a limo, go wine tasting, or
I've
just
seen all
take
these
over.
posts.
Yeah, or just take over a bar. Like,
You guys do lots of lunching.
Yes. I mean,
no guys allowed.
no, we actually have some LOL adjacents, so we will have to make you one.
Okay, I like
Yes,
this. All right,
yes.
adjacent, not
Yes.
adjacent. All right, so let's move into some relevant topics now, because again, like, one question I had for you is, how do you define your role in the community? But before you answer that, let's talk a bit more about just the relevance of what's going on today. And do you think that, you already said yes, so you have hope, but do you think that all that we're going through, this needs to happen? This is all for a reason?
Yeah, well, as you know, history is cyclical. It repeats itself. So, yeah, it does need to happen, because we as humans need to be taught a lesson, because we take so much for granted. And we don't take that time to be grateful. And so then stuff like this happens, and it makes you grateful again.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that the smallest things that you took for granted are not so small. And it's like, like with my sisters, the LOLs. We took that time that we could spend together for granted. We can't do that anymore. But the way we've done that is we do ding dong gift.
Explain that. What is ding dong gift?
Like, I love infusing alcohol.
Okay.
So I'll make a small batch of infused alcohol. Like the last one I did was honeysuckle. It was honeysuckle, ginger, and yellow watermelon.
Okay.
And then I topped it off with a little bit of Vouv.
Ooh.
Put it in the freezer.
Okay.
Voila, you have it. So wrap that up and, like, just a little cute tissue. Put a little note, thinking of you, sis, love you. Run up, ring the doorbell, place the gift, get back in the car, take off.
Spreading love.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. So, but things like this always make you more grateful.
Yeah.
And so it's needed.
Yeah.
It was needed.
I like
Yes.
this. I took some time to go to therapy. I met with a therapist for about 1.5 years, and as I was kind of working through some of my depression, he mentioned that the best way to circumvent or combat that is to do something else for somebody else.
Exactly.
Right? To find a space of gratitude by being selfless.
And you do that without expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, your role in the community. How do you summarize that? Tough question. That is a toughie.
How do my role in the community? I would like to think that I'm an activist. I mean,
You are. Your
yeah.
presence on social media alone. Like, I haven't talked about this because I'm not supposed to, about my job. But like you speaking up for me, like, I could actually get emotional
Oh,
just
I was
thinking
pissed.
about it. I know, but it filled my heart to know, A, that you have my back, B, I know you love me, but C, for you to actually, like, turn it into an action blew my mind.
Yeah, and I wish it would have taken traction, but you
Well,
know
it
what?
did. It did enough. It filled my heart.
I'm actually glad it didn't, because it brought you to this.
Get it, girl. Totally.
And this is much more relevant, much more important, and much more needed.
Yeah. And also much more fulfilling. I love what I do.
Exactly.
I love
and
what I do
it's
for work.
their
but-
loss.
Well, yeah, I agree. And I don't know what about as far as that. I don't know if the door is completely closed. That's not really the topic here. But
Yeah.
I like that you said that needed to happen for a reason because it brought me to this, and this is so important.
It is.
So important for me, for you, for listeners, for all of us to be able to just continue to have dialogue about these relevant issues.
Exactly. And it's like one thing that I've learned from Iyanla is that out of every tragedy or every bad thing that happens, something positive blossoms.
Get it, girl. And I lost my mom when I was 24, and I learned that year after what silver lining looks like. And I was like, okay, there's some positive to all of this.
Yeah.
And I had to find it and look for it, and there was.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go into detail about that now, but one instance is like the relationship I was able to foster with my sister, or the fact that I was able to keep my mother's memory alive by doing interesting and innovative things. So those are moments of silver lining. I get what you're saying. You talk about something. Pick something. Come on, let's have some fun.
I don't know. What would you like to talk about? Would you
Okay.
like to talk about what's in this box?
All right. So open the box. Listen, I've only had one other guest to bring me a gift. I love you. You're always bearing gifts. So slide it on over,
Okay,
baby girl.
So before you open that,
Okay.
you know I was set to debut my line,
At
Concrete
Fashion Week.
Jungle at El Paseo Fashion Week, or Fashion Week El Paseo.
Which is the biggest fashion event on the West Coast.
Yes, and because of the pandemic, it couldn't.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why that was so important to me is that I was actually handpicked by Susan Stein.
Wow.
She reached out to me. She said she had been watching me.
Wow. That's a
And
huge
she had
compliment.
Exactly. And she's like, so last year I did the Jocelyn in the Desert. And, I closed that show out. Phenomenal response. So she said, I want you Fashion Week. And so
It's like validates all the work that you do.
it really does.
Yeah.
It really does. And so my line, first and foremost, I always work in African wax cloth in my originals. So this is one of my originals.
Whoa.
African wax cloth is a very vibrant cotton fabric. Where throughout different regions of Africa, you're going to find different wax cloths.
Okay.
So I always bring that into my designs. I take a classic silhouette and I modernize it. Remember when I was telling you about the last time I was on Desert Living that I was reinventing the caftan for men?
I remember that.
That's what's in here.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
That's what's in there. And I call it a man tan. And want some other things in there, but yeah, go ahead and
Oh
open
my
it.
goodness. Okay, I'm opening it right now. I just have to show you this real quick. I just sent this picture to my niece, and I've got, I love to travel, and when I travel, I like to bring back things from where I've been. And so, oh my God, I'm so excited. So that's something I wore this past
yeah.
week. So let me bust this thing open. Are you serious?
Are you and Joshua Tree in there?
Yeah, that's
you
Joshua
know what? I
Tree.
saw a picture you posted, and I'm like, oh, that looks like my land. I just bought 5 acres in Joshua Tree.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, my husband and I, we're progressing into building our family compound.
Whoa.
And that's where we're going to retire.
That is God's country up there.
Yeah,
As you
I
know, it
love
doesn't get
it.
any more beautiful than that.
Right?
So I was very well could have been in your backyard.
Maybe.
Well, when that, oh my goodness, look at I can't, you guys. Oh, look at and look, my birthday's coming up, but I have not opened a gift in a long time.
Well, you're about to open a few
Look
now.
at, oh my God, look at the colors. You guys, check this out. Whoa. I love that we're off topic. Oh my God.
So that is one of my man tans. It can
Honey.
be worn closed as a caftan or open as a kimono.
Okay.
And then it has matching pants.
Oh my God, baby girl, I am so excited right now. Thank you so much.
welcome.
You guys, this is so dope. There's one thing that I try to encourage everybody in life, especially listeners and viewers, is get some culture.
Exactly.
If it's food or if it's clothing or if it's a movie or a
Exactly.
trip. And this is culture at its best. You talk for a bit because I'm going to stand up. They won't be
A
able to
lot
hear
of
me.
people are worried about cultural appropriating or culture vulturing. And to me, as long as you're learning and you appreciate the culture, if you want to wear African waxcloth, I encourage you to.
So you think it's okay for white folks to wear
Yes, of
African
course.
gear? All right.
Of course.
This was a hot topic for a long time, what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think as long as you appreciate the culture, it's not appropriation.
Look at all of this
So
stuff you bought.
yeah, so
Dude.
those are the pants.
Oh my goodness, honey. You guys see this, right? All my viewers, you can see this right here. Check out these pants to match this. So what do you call this again?
A man tan.
A man tan. Listen, we got to send people to your site. People can buy this, right?
Yes.
Tell them your site right now.
Yes, it's www.anekabrowndesigns.com.
And we're going to have that up on your bio here on the web.
Or follow me on
website.
Facebook as well. Okay, and see, and then
You are
this
so
is one
thoughtful.
of my social justice T-shirts.
Whoa.
I started a line of social justice T-shirts. One said, "Enough is enough." You have "Together we can combat racism."
This is beautiful.
And then I did another one that said, "Stop weaponizing color."
Ooh, stop weaponizing color.
Yes.
They can get these on your site as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, those are for a limited time only. Though.
This is
Those-
sick.
Yeah.
And I love it
And
because this is
then-
what we should be seeing out. People, flexing how they feel.
Yes.
Forget Nike, love Nike, but let's talk about how you feel.
And then this is a chocolate energy bracelet.
Ooh. What do you mean by that?
It's made by one of my Nigerian crafters, and it's called chocolate because it's chocolate finished
Yeah.
with copper, and it just helps good energy flow through you.
Oh, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, all you gotta do, and you just open it. You just pull it to open it, and then
Really?
you just
I feel like I'm going to break it.
no.
Okay, got
There
it.
you go. And then you just slide it on.
Okay.
Just put it like that, and
Got
then
it.
you just squeeze it.
You are so thoughtful. That's like Christmas up in here. Y'all Kwanzaa, rather. Dope, honey. I'm so grateful for all of this.
Yes.
Talk about gratitude. I mean, you always spoil me. I've like half of my wardrobe is Aneka Brown. But this, I have to say, is by far my favorite.
I'm glad you like it.
I am so excited.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, now I just got to figure out a place to wear it besides home. Wow. So then, all right, let's stay on topic with this right now. As far as African culture, you know more about African culture than a lot of black folks here. Tell me a bit about, again, where this is from.
Well, I am learning.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so with the African wax cloth, it's 100% cotton.
Uh-huh.
It's called wax cloth because wax is used in the process of dyeing it.
I like the feel of it.
Yeah, it feels real crisp.
Uh-huh.
Real regal, real royal.
Yeah.
You have African wax cloth, you have kente cloth, and those were the sashes that Congress as well that people were asking about. Kente cloth is usually reserved for special events.
Okay.
So I don't design in kente cloth unless, of course, it was like a wedding or something like that. And then you've got Ankara wax cloth. There's wax cloth made in Nigeria. There's wax cloth made in Botswana. All throughout these different places of Africa make wax cloth. And the print and the colors vary depending upon that particular region and tribe.
Gotcha. And again, see, this is a perfect example of how beautiful culture can be.
Exactly.
How colorful, how detailed, how there's history tied into it, storylines tied into it.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing this to the Coachella Valley and sharing this with me.
Oh, you're
and the
welcome.
viewers and listeners.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm just stuck on this. Hold on, guys. I gotta refocus. So I asked you what your role is in the community, and it was hard for you to respond. But, you said activist, and I think that, just these T-shirts alone are a strong example of how you are an activist. How can other people at home become activists?
I would just say, like I said, if you want to, I wouldn't necessarily say you put on an event if that's not what your heart leads you to. But go to a different culture's event. Go to as many cultural events as you can. Then that way you're learning. We should never stop learning until the day we die.
Yeah.
The more we learn, the more well-rounded we are, and the better we are all as people.
Yeah. I love that. One thing I've been doing in my later in life is now getting back into books and reading. So,
I love reading.
So, is there anything that kind of changed your life or helped change your perspective as far as books are concerned?
Oh, gee. Notazeke Shangays for colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow wasn't enough.
Whoa.
I read that in high school. I've reread it. I love James Baldwin books. I love Terry McMillan books, So for me, it doesn't always have to be true accounts. I love sci-fi stories, made-up stories. But I just feel that reading is another way that you can stay fresh because it keeps your brain hungry for knowledge, and your brain ends up being like a sponge.
Yeah. And it creates thinking. It promotes thought, you know?
Yes, exactly. I just recently read a book. Gosh, it was. I wish I could remember the name of it. Stamped, I want to say it was. I wish I would have brought it because it was a phenomenal book.
Stamped.
Stamped. It was.
And we'll get it to you later at some point.
Yeah,
We'll throw it up on the website.
Maya Angelou poetry books. I love to read. Langston Hughes poetry I love to read. Langston Hughes books I love to read. I love to explore art. One of my favorite artists, Charles Bibbs. I need to get him back out here again. Phenomenal artist. We've got some phenomenal artists in our backyard. Bernard Hoyce. This for my event in February, I'm bringing out an artist by the name of Nikki McGee. He has become the go-to artist for celebrities.
Really?
So he has painted portraits for everybody from Fat Joe to Method Man to Redman.
Jeez.
Then he's done these private paint parties for LL Cool J, Anthony Anderson, Vanessa Simmons. His artwork has been featured on Blackish, John Singleton's show Snowfall, the title where you see the kid and it's a drawing. That's Nikki's work. So
And he's local, you said?
no, he's out of L.A., but
Gotcha.
I'm bringing him here in February. On February 20th is when the 6th annual Black History event is. He is going to paint live.
Whoa.
He's going to paint a civil icon live. And then for VIP ticket goers, you're going to get this tote, and he is going to teach a African mask image that's going to be painted on those totes that you get to take home.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's just one of the things. Yeah, so that's
And
gonna
you
be
do that
fabulous.
every year. You're bringing somebody new, somebody who's established in the Black community as far as arts or entertainment, but somebody new
Yes.
for a lot of other people
Yes,
that don't know.
because I always I don't compete with anybody else. I always compete with myself. And so 2020, I brought out a play. It's a lovely woman by the name of Janice Adams Ginyard.
Yeah.
Stunt woman. She was in Black Panther, several other movies. She wrote, directed, and produced this play called Black Love Connection, a Civil Rights Edition.
Okay.
So basically, it was like the Chuck Woolery. Was he the Love Connection?
He was the host of Love Connection, yeah.
Okay, so basically, it was like she turned the set into this dating game, and one guy had to date historical figures. So this one guy dated Henrietta Lacks. So you learned about Henrietta Lacks. Then he also dated Harriet Tubman. You learned about Harriet Tubman. He also dated Dorothy Dandridge. So you learned about Dorothy Dandridge. He dated Oprah. So you learned about Oprah. So I brought that out here for that, and that's how I opened up my event last year, or not, I don't want to say last year because it was just February.
Yeah.
So her play was Friday night, and then the big event was Saturday. And so I always think of how I can outdo myself, be bigger and better. And so this year, that's why I'm coming up with all these little sister events. Like I'm doing an intimate evening with Richard Pryor Jr. It's going to be at an undisclosed location, and it's basically for people who don't know about him. Well, of course, he's Richard Pryor's son, arguably the greatest comedian ever. But Richard Pryor Jr. has his own career. He is a singer. He is a cabaret lounge act. And he's even funny on his own. I mean, he tells these stories that, every time I talk to him, he's got me in stitches. And so I said, okay, well, you're going to come out here and we'll do a little VIP cocktail party. He'll tell you stories about growing up as Richard Pryor's son, maybe sing a few numbers, and you'll
And
have
make
a good
everybody
time.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you'll have a really good time. So
And he's been out here before, and I met him, and he's a really
well,
solid
he
dude.
he was a model in my event.
Yeah, and I got to sit
Yeah.
next to him. He's a nice man.
Yeah, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And I'm glad you mentioned him as well as What was her name? Trina?
Trina Parks.
Trina Parks. I kept
Yes.
wanting to say Turk as well, but I'm
No,
glad
Trina
you mentioned
Parks.
those names because those
Yeah.
are, again, and when you have some time, folks, research those people, follow them on social media, give them some love because they're all doing their part as well.
Yeah, they are.
All right, so we're almost out of time, but I want to ask you this. Two things. My first question is there anything that you would like to add right now that viewers or listeners need to hear from you?
Other than check my line out, check my events
Yep.
out.
Okay.
Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Aneka Brown, Aneka Brown Designs.
Okay, cool. And as she mentioned, she just gave you all of that detail. You'll find that on the bio page on doyourpartpodcast.com where you found this podcast. So all of those web links will be there as well. All right, well, I'm sad this is coming to an end, but we always ask our guests, talking about solutions, things that people can do at home to be able to just kind of do their part, feel invested in, humanity and mankind. What are some things that you can leave them with? You gave us some already, but do you have anything else?
I will just reiterate. Go to an event. Step out of your comfort zone. Go to an event with no preconceived notion about what it's going to be like. Go with an open heart, an open mind, and be ready to immerse yourself in whatever culture it is, or if it's an LGBTQ event, whatever it is, get out and be 100% present. Put your phone down and interact with the people that are at the event. Be present.
Immerse yourself and be present. Find something different. Step outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Everybody's lended or offered some sort of solution, and I think that's one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because it's, there's been variations of it, but it's really true. Find an event that is something that you normally wouldn't attend, that is not part of your culture, and immerse yourself.
Yeah, and you'll be a better person for it, and you'll leave learning something that you hadn't known.
Yeah, I went to the Morongo powwow last year. I covered it for the station, and oh my God, I just, electric.
Right? Goosebumps.
And that was me seeing a side of a new culture that I had never seen, and I left there just buzzing. All right, I love you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm going to get you back. I tell all the guests we're going to get them back. And again, thank you all, viewers and listeners, for listening. Please share this. And always take care of yourselves and each other. Make sure to do your part. And that's a wrap. We'll see you soon.